think about this one,
Yes,
because
it was.
and maybe the reason why there were not major challenges is when we entered marriage, we were both mature in the Lord. The baggage that we picked up before we came to the Lord, most of that we dealt with. Most of the issues that we dealt with. When we heard couples are fighting about this toilet paper and putting it this way around and that way around, or toilet seat up and down, those were not issues to us. So we were quite accommodative. So I think we came into this thing, marriage, by giving and not a stance of taking from marriage or taking from each other. So we did not really have major challenges. I mean, there were
Challenges, like we had a miscarriage.
but that was from outside.
Yeah,
It was not caused by any.
But we were as a couple, or we decided from the beginning, doesn't matter what we're facing, we're going to be there, open up
For
to
each
each other.
other.
Yes.
We are going through this
Yeah,
together.
there was
now.
no like in third parties or family. Even if there were issues, we would handle it, But I believe because we are trusting in God, our faith is in God, it's always easy, to go through, because we know God is on our side. God is fighting for us.
I was a knight in shining armor from the start. So we got married the Saturday, the Sunday. I put my in-laws in their place when my brother-in-law shouted at my wife. I said, I don't intend to do that. You will not shout at my wife. And not even a mother has the right to do that. So I think it's important that you come up for each other, even among your family. So she would always say that I did it right from the start. So yeah, so I think the problems arise when you don't do it, and then she will confront me. So she didn't have to do that, yeah.
I think we said it before, or you said it several times, but I just never wanted to admit to it. But I think COVID times was the biggest strain on our marriage. Because I was on the extreme in terms of the impact that COVID has on our lives as individuals, as a nation, as a world, in fact. And as a result, my approach was always heightened to, so I would really get annoyed when she's leaving home to go somewhere. And because of that annoyance, I'll be edgy. And as a result of that being edginess, every little thing will just spark an argument. So we're emotionally drained, emotionally torn because of all this death around you and so on, and you're trying to do what you can to protect yourself and to protect the family. And as a result, really every little thing just became an argument and argument and argument and argument. It only took us a while to really understand and comprehend that perhaps the conflict we were having so frequently is not necessarily because one of us was doing things wrong, but it's more because of the external environment that was informing or influencing our internal environment. And having to go through that, having to lose people again, you develop that constant fear that, what if I lose you next? What if, this virus gets the best of us and our kids are left with our parents?
We've had moments where we've needed to really sit down and discuss an issue. And our challenge has been just communicating properly. We've had moments where we've had it in small moments where we communicate and what is being communicated is not being received the way it was intended on the other side. We've had moments where we were having a disagreement about what the other person was saying, but we were saying the same thing. And we just had to now realize that we are not communicating effectively. And so even when it comes to the big challenges or issues that we are facing, we are working and learning on how to communicate that there is a problem and this problem needs a solution, and it needs resolution as well. So I would say our challenge or our conflicts has been on communication, and we're learning.
Yeah, it's only been
It's
6
only been
months.
6 months.
For me was when we got married. The month when we were getting married, I had resigned from, not the month, 2 months before, 3 months before, I decided I'm going to broadcasting College of the Arts to go study broadcasting. And then I had to leave work, and I had to, any money I had to spend on the wedding in December. So after that, it was not easy. For me, that was the most difficult period of my life. Like, we had to now...
The marriage.
Yeah, for the marriage. I was like, we had to talk now, like, okay, where are we going? What's happening? Hey! The finances are not meeting. I don't know where the next money is coming from. I'm going to study for 3 years. I was like, Lord, this wife you gave me a first test. This is a first test. But fortunately for me, yeah, but that was a difficult time where I had to study. My wife was the only one working, and just balancing. So I decided, okay, let me just play my role, at least for now. Let me help with the house, let me cook, let me do those things, so that it's not just on her, and at least somehow I felt contributing. But I did here and there small gigs during studies, but it's not as good as when you are not studying and you have free time. So that was a difficult time for me, which you have helped me. Thank you. I know sometimes maybe you wanted to go buy a dress and you wanted to do this and that and makeup and nails. I know for the longest time is that maybe why you got used to it, or what? You don't really do nails. The 3 years of training. So, but I'm so happy that you understood a lot of things, and you compromised a lot, your comfort. I mean, you did your part in, like, personally. You did your part, you set up yourself, you studied, you were there. Here comes a man that is now figuring out his life, he's only studying now and stuff. Woo! I think, I don't know how okay, let me not ask the question, it's fine. But yeah, that was the most difficult part for me.
I think at this point, it's good to say that marriages, like anything in life, marriage has seasons. There's good seasons. There's some tough ones. You have winter, summer, spring, all of that. So over the 8-year period, there have been different challenges and all of that. If there's one that I can highlight, I think the most recent would be, when you get married, you have your challenges, and then over time, you get to know one another and you come to an understanding. So I feel like 4 years into the marriage, we had reached a place where we understood each other. And then comes the addition of a little bundle of joy. That's when our first daughter was born. And then the dynamic changes completely. You would not think the addition of a little human would bring so much change.
Economically,
emotionally, time. There's so many factors. And I think, children are a blessing. Please let me not be misquoted. I'm not saying the child was a challenge, but parenting and navigating parenting together with trying to find balance in your marriage is a challenge. So we had to learn a lot of things that we thought we already knew, and we had to sort of just adapt to our new living and our new living situation with a child in the picture. So how it has helped us grow is how it has helped the marriage or strengthened the marriage. I think we have grown a lot because we've learned many lessons. Children have this thing where they are serving lessons by just existing. Like, they are just there.
being a child, but you learn so much from the child, and you learn so much from having a child about yourself. It's a complete turn of events in terms of emotions and in terms of how you process things, how you receive things. Your priorities change. So a lot happens after you have a child. So that's probably one of the major things.
And how that has strengthened our marriage. Challenges are unescapable. No one can escape challenges within a marriage. And I think there's two types of challenges for us, which one is internal and one is external. External, I mean, are things we are out of our control a little bit, or just life coming together for us. And internal, it's finding each other, and it's finding harmony within our relationship. So I would say our biggest challenge has been communication, which I assume is for many people a big challenge, because it's two people trying to be in sync, even though they are two individuals. And so that has been our challenge. It has really taught us how to speak better, how to communicate, how to think before you speak, how to know how the person would like to receive what you're saying, even though we never do it perfect, especially me. I'm a loose cannon with these things, but I'm trying. But it does strengthen us. It helps us to be better, it helps us to be one. The outside challenges, we ensure that they do not get between us, that we are not fighting one another, we are fighting the challenge that is at hand. And I think that has strengthened us to hold hands and rather to pull together than to fight the situation and fight one another. I think that is a recipe for disaster.
I would say, I would always refer to Vernon being very, very honest, but the way that he's handling himself is the peaceful way. I've learned that he's very good with finances. I'm not good with finances, so he's doing, he's doing the budget and everything. Though at the beginning it was very difficult for me, and I think sometimes I'm still struggling in that area. But I know that we wouldn't, have what we have today if Vernon was not so meticulous about, the finances. So that
stick to the plan.
Yes, stick to the plan. But also with the kids, Vernon grew up without a dad, but the kind of father that he is to our kids, I can just admire it, because I also grew up without a dad, my dad is in South Africa, my biological dad. And I grew up with my grandparents, and then when I came to Windhoek, I had my stepdad. But looking at the way the relationship that Vernon and his kids are having, it's just so beautiful, And I would say he's a very, very good dad to his kids. He's taking very good care of us. But the relationship between him and his daughters and his sons is just so, so, so admirable.
I needed to really understand that what you're doing is not because you don't want me to do. And I mean, I wasn't reckless. It's more trying to do things for people, and especially when my dad was ill. And what I failed to see, what I saw was you being hard and not seeing that you were trying to protect us as a family. And I think had I grasped that earlier on, it would have handled it much better than me seeing or hearing you just say, no, don't do it, or you're angry, but not seeing the bigger picture that you're just trying to protect us.
And I think also for me was also the fact that I wasn't able to see beyond my own perception, and to be able to really understand and say, but this wife of mine, the mother of my kids, will not do anything reckless to put us at risk. So whenever she goes out there, she will do her best to protect us as much as possible. And I think had I also understood that from the onset, it would have somehow also helped us to arrive at a neutral ground. But now I was on this extreme and you were not extreme. As a result, we keep on butting heads over every other little thing here. But as life goes, you learn through experiences, and you apply them into your marriage and you move beyond that.
I learned that my wife is like a marshmallow, very soft and very delicate, and I love it because it gives me a very big line that I shouldn't cross, because I know that if I do anything, I will hurt her, and I don't want to hurt her. So I've learned about her that she does have a very sensitive side, and that I need to be aware of it.
I've learned that I think there's a perception that the world has about the men as well, but I know that my husband also has desires for resolution. He really wants to see things work, and he also feels things. Yeah, he also feels things, and he's very eager for us to be okay, for us to be good. So yeah, and I think there's still obviously a lot more to learn, and again, we've only been married 6 months.
Fact is that he's a very, very good father. I learned just during my birth process the level of patience and support that I received. I think I got to see a side to my husband that I knew existed, but it was almost like it was this new dimension of it that was released. So I got to know him as somebody who was very patient, very supportive, very present. Yes, so I think, and also very, if we look at the example that he gave of the financial situation within the first few years of marriage, what I learned about him then was that he's a man of faith. I am an overthinker. I believe in God. I believe God provides. I believe God makes a way. But I will also be the first one to be like, listen, there's no milk in the fridge. Where is the bread going to come from? And usually his response would be something along the lines of, don't worry about it, God will provide, or it's okay, don't sweat the small stuff. So I've also learned that he is a man of faith, really, above all else.
And for me, it's just, you are a strong lady, man. You are really strong. You were like, you're always saying, I'm daddy's princess. I'm just like, yeah, I saw that with marriage. I was like, I saw you are really a princess. But during the phase of the labor stuff and the pregnancy, I saw you are really a strong woman. Warrior. Super warrior.
So yeah, what we have learned about each other during these times, during challenging times, I think I'll share one thing and then you can share one thing. The one thing I've learned about Johanna during difficult and challenging times is she's a calm soul. I wish I was as calm as her, but I'm not. But she's a calm soul, which really stabilizes myself, and it really helps me to just take a second look at things.
What have I learned about you during challenging times?
Have you learned anything?
Sorry, I have. I should. Okay. Yeah. No, I think what I've learned about you during this, when we are faced with issues, really, I think you're the kind of person, you need time to process things. And also you are not one to make hasty decisions in the midst of challenges. Like, if there's something that a decision needs to be made tomorrow, you're like, okay, no, let's just think about it. And I'm like, let's just go, I'm a risk taker. You're like, let's think about this. So I think what I've learned about you is that you really don't just jump into things, especially when it's something that is challenging you. Take your time to think about it and then execute. You think before you speak. You don't just say things. So I think that's what I've learned about you, even though it's a fact. It's not that I've learned it really.
Not really differently. The point that I made earlier where the Holy Spirit dealt with me, I think if He had dealt with me on the first night, this is how I need to love her, I would have done it sooner and maybe not only a decade later. Yeah, so that is what I would have done differently.
I think from my side, I would have tried to be also a better wife to Vernon, to support him more in his work situation, because I was so busy working on my own career and everything that I left him out. And as a wife, we're actually a helper. So we help him to become better. And I think if I did that from the beginning, it would have been easier for him, because now I'm full-time at home and he's the one bringing in the salary. So I think I was in that area, I was a little bit ignorant, I would say.
Maybe if I can add to that, I think it's important as a husband that you understand when your wife corrects you, because that happens a lot. They have a sense, or they are more sensitive to what is inside of people. So the Lord, I think, embodies the wife. So if I don't listen, I have Him residing in her to talk to me, and you need to appreciate Christ that is in your partner, and should never see it as she's there to harm you, or she's there to embarrass you, or she is really the helper God made her to be. Though difficult as a man to listen, but you need to learn to listen. The sooner you do that, it will be a happier life for you then.
And it's a very good question, because I honestly believe that there is underlying lessons through every conflict. So once that conflict phase has been resolved, look back at that and see, but what can I learn from this experience that I can apply so that I can then avoid having to come back at the same point. Because if you don't take that moment to reflect on that experience, then you are wasting an opportunity to actually learn something, and as a result, you are most likely to come back to that point because you didn't learn anything and apply anything back there. So definitely, looking back at that, for me, it was more a thing of, I was on the extreme side of things that created this tension in the family. But I should have really just taken a moment and just processed, listen, but we're in good hands. If it comes, it comes, but now just chill, take it, tone down, and move on.
You spoke on our behalf.
Yeah.
I'd say the things I wish that I would have handled differently is maybe my approach to life and my choices before marriage. Because what marriage is that you really, like when people say you can't hide, you can't do anything, that's true. And so whatever you don't address before marriage, whatever the Holy Spirit leads you to do and you don't do, best believe it's going to rear its head in marriage. And so for me, I think the wishes I had was that I wish that I wasn't so concerned about, when am I getting married, or when is this going to happen, but actually just focusing on being the spouse that I want my spouse to be to me also. So in the conflicts and things like that, of course, there's things that you wish you don't say, or reactions that you wish not to have. But I think in comparison to things I could have done, differently in the past, and maybe those are the things. But in marriage, I can't say there's anything in particular that I wish I could have handled differently, because I think my level of maturity and understanding and all of those things in general influence those things, and so the real issue is an issue of character.
I think I would agree with the fact that some things could have been dealt with before getting to marriage. I wouldn't say anything would have been handled any differently while we were married. I think we had a good strategy on how to handle certain things, but definitely things before marriage, getting, as they say, work on yourself before you get married. Those things are definitely important.
No.
I also don't.
Yeah, I see.
What?
Our firstborn. What was the question?
Is there anything you would have handled
Differently. Yes. When our car installments finished, we were supposed to put that money away because when our daughter came, I think that's the only thing I can really say, like I was supposed to do it differently. So a year after our daughter was there, I'm saying a year ago, when we did the budget before our daughter came, I saw, okay, now the car is done. Okay, there is some leeway to do other things or save up for the next car and stuff like that. And then a year later or two, was it a year or so? And then we're like, where is the money we calculated? Just to realize, this firstborn is actually taking the payments that was done on the car previously, which we finished paying. Later, we just saw that just transferred to the baby now. So we woke up late realizing that, this is where the money is going, and now we need to find a different strategy for new. So that's the only thing I would say I would do differently, like finance planning, always do it to detail.
I don't think we would. There's nothing, because I think everything that we have gone through, we have grown through, and it has made us into who we are today. So.
Yeah, if we look back at our 5 years together, going on 6, is there anything we would have done differently? I don't think so. I'm fairly put together. But no, there are hundreds of things I wish I did better. But so there are countless. But I think especially, I wish I was a bit more gentle, a bit more kind at moments. And a bit more understanding. I can get fairly, I think I can get fairly hard-headed in certain things and fairly set on my ways. So I wish I could win my wife's heart better than just trying to force her to be on board with certain things. And so, I think that's what I could have done better.
Yeah, I think for me, I would have, I should have communicated better. Because I think for me, marriage has exposed just how poorly I communicate, about things. And being married to someone who's like a type A, who wants to know everything, I struggle to communicate everything clearly. So he's like, come with receipts. And I don't always have receipts, So learning to really just speak clearly, communicate things in advance, and just think ahead, so that's what I've learned about myself, ne? It's about myself, yes.
The advice I would give to myself is that life goes through seasons. There are different seasons. First, it's the season that you're starting off with. Just the two of you, you can buy a lot of stuff, you can eat out, you can buy clothes. Then the season where the kids will come, where the money will be coming scarce, not that much. Not enough time for each other because you have to share it. And then also life happens, it's in my case, it's lupus, it's operations that I had to go through, back surgeries. It's a lot of stuff that's happening But as a couple, if you are one, if you are close, you can weather any storm. So that, to me, I would say to couples, don't think that life will always be the same. And it's not to look into the negative side, but it is that life will happen. You will start having kids. You will have to go maybe to a bigger house, build a bigger house. Some of our family members, they pass on, they die, so we will go through life's challenges. In my case, it was my health. But Vernon was there 100% backing me up, having my back. So to me, it's for the young couples, I would say, enjoy. The kids grow up so fast. Enjoy life. If I look at our son, he's now turning 24 this year. Just the other day, he was a baby, running around. So life really goes on so fast. So enjoy every moment. Be intentional. Be in the moment when you guys are planning, doing things with your kids. Be intentional. Please enjoy your kids.
I will add to that. If you intend to remain selfish in marriage, rather don't get married and stay single, because marriage is not for people who wants to be selfish. Marriage is about giving. Marriage is not about taking.
Biggest mistake that people make is that we treat a courting period and a marriage period different. It's almost like we want to change. If we're courting, there are certain things that we do, and once we decide to get married, there are certain things that we now need to take. I think for me, the standout was the advice that you actually gave unknowingly. I think one of the key things that you said in our courting stage was that we need to give 100% to one another, or to this relationship, and if things don't work out, we'll walk away knowing that we've given it our all, and it's just a pity that things didn't work out. And that's the advice that I would still give my just married self now.
Yeah, I definitely echo that as well. And I think also, just to add on to that, we have this tendency, as especially Christians, that we place our reliance on the health of your marriage, on the premarital counseling, or the lack of that, for that matter, that church would ordinarily give. But we tend to forget that this is your life. It's the two of you walking this journey for good. The pastor won't be there when things go down. So the onus lies on you as a couple to equip yourself with the best as possible for you to survive during the course of marriage. So when you are in a situation where you feel there isn't enough support or resources available, you have access to data, Wi-Fi, go on to marriage websites, read up on these things, because that's what you treat as counseling for you to be able to be the best version of yourself when you go into that marriage. And once you do that and apply those things back into your real life, you are good.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing is a bit of rocky, yeah, but you're able to navigate around that.
That's good.
Yeah.
You're just getting started. That's the advice I would give to myself on if I was just married. The advice I would want to hear is, with the perspective that I have now, is that you're just getting started and the work needs to be done. Yeah, work needs to be done to make the marriage successful. The pursuit to the day of the wedding was just one part. The rest of it starts once you get married.
I will answer that question in 5 years.
What advice would I give to
your just married self?
I think at the point where I am now, I would have advised and said, love and manage. That's what I would have told myself. Love and endlessly love. Don't have limits on the love you have for your wife. Prioritize her. Do not try to rush life, trying to get the monies and the bags and stuff, but put her first. Put God first, because those are the things that gives you a purpose in my life. And then after that, manage the rest of the things properly. Gain knowledge, gain wisdom, and then that's what I would tell myself. I did not have this because it just started. It's a development that just started a year ago. Yeah.
What would I tell my just married self? Keep the focus where it needs to be. I think sometimes we sweat the small stuff, and we spend a lot of unnecessary time and emotion on stuff that's not necessarily as significant. So I think keeping the focus where it needs to be, keep the focus on God, focus on the bigger picture. What are you trying to achieve? What is the purpose of your marriage? Why did you get married? What is the goal? So I think keeping the focus where it needs to be helps us navigate life. Yeah.
I might speak for both of us. Yeah, I think we have a fair consensus on what I'm about to say, but I would say marriage is beautiful, but you have to work at keeping it beautiful. It's really hard work, and I think many times we think it's something that just flows and fits together and it's beautiful, but it really takes consistent, intentional hard work. So I would give myself the advice to say, work hard in your marriage, work hard on it and work hard in it. And those are two different things which I could elaborate more at another time.
Yeah.